95th Academy Awards are still a few months away, but I thought it would be fun over the next few weeks to make some early Oscar predictions in the top few categories. Last time we talked about Best Supporting Actress, and today we're digging into, you guessed it, Best Supporting Actor. And I would argue, unlike Supporting Actress, which is wide open right now, with no clear frontrunner, Supporting Actor has at least 2 fairly sure nominations and a couple others that look pretty likely. I know, it's still early, but here are the top contenders to be nominated for Best Supporting Actor at next year's ceremony. Now, I'm not 100% sure that Brendan Gleeson is going supporting, but if he does, I think this is a guaranteed Oscar nomination. It would make sense that Colin Farrell will be campaigning for lead actor, and I think because he's in the movie so much, at least from what I've read, Gleeson is a shoo-in for Best Supporting Actor. He's never been Oscar nominated before, which is shocking to me. He's been so great for decades in so many different kinds of movies, and I haven't seen The Banshees of Inisherin yet, but it is one of the most acclaimed movies of 2022, and Gleeson is getting just as much praise as Farrell. And it bums me out a little bit that Gleeson is going supporting, because it's been so long since we've had 2 different actors from the same movie nominated in the same category, Best Actor. It was all the way back in 1985 when F. Murray Abraham and Tom Hulce were nominated for Amadeus that happened, and I feel like it should happen again. We don't have to always separate them like this, one in lead, one in supporting. As we'll talk about in a few weeks, lead actor right now is kind of like supporting actress in that it's wide open. I mean, outside of Brendan Fraser in The Whale and Farrell, as well as Austin Butler in Elvis, there is some wiggle room there. And I think if everybody really loves The Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Gleeson could make the final 5. So I don't know why, if he has a lot of screen time, he has to go to supporting. But I think that's what's probably going to happen. Category fraud takes place every year. We just heard that Carey Mulligan will be campaigning for supporting actress for She Said. And from what I've read about that movie, she is one of the leads. It's not a small part of the film. So this just keeps happening. We just kind of have to roll with it. I would love to see Brendan Gleeson get his first Oscar nomination for a movie like this one that's just being so celebrated ever since it premiered at Venice. So I think that's for sure happening, as long as on Oscar nominations morning, there's not a shocker a la Lakeith Stanfield or something where Gleeson shows up in lead actor. I mean, that could happen. I don't think it will, but it could. Outside of that, I think Brendan Gleeson gets in for supporting. Now, there's also Barry Keoghan, who's getting some buzz for his supporting performance in The Banshees of Inisherin. Can they both get in? I don't know if that will happen. I don't know if there's enough awareness of Barry Keoghan and his performance in the movie. We'll have to wait and see over the next couple months. I think if everyone gives Gleeson their vote, Barry Keoghan might fall behind. But if the movie is really popular come January, February, Keoghan might get in as well. Ke Huy Quan, Everything Everywhere All at Once. I don't know about Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm not 100%. I don't know what's going to happen in that category, but something tells me Ke Huy Quan is getting in. There is a great narrative there. This tremendous actor who's in The Goonies, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and then he's not really acting for a while, and then he comes back in this project. What an amazing story he has to tell, and what a great performance he gives in this movie. So I think that one is happening. Outside of Academy voters just not really going for the movie overall, I think if Michelle Yeoh gets in, if the movie gets a Best Picture nomination, I think Ke Huy Quan is getting a supporting actor nomination. It feels right in my bones. All of the interview appearances he's made this year have been fantastic. We all love that picture he has with Harrison Ford. That made me so happy, that picture. I don't know, I just think there's a lot of love for this guy. and people adore the movie. And supporting actor, it's not like it has 4 or 5 contenders that could overtake him. It's still kind of wide open. Not as much as supporting actress, but it's still, there's room. So I think he gets in. I'm like 99% sure on that one. The other one I'm feeling pretty good about is Ben Whishaw for Women Talking. This is an actor I have loved for more than 10 years. I want to say I first discovered him in Perfume, which came out around 2007. To be honest, I've had a major crush on the guy for about 15 years, but that's another story. I do think he's also a fantastic actor. I've loved him as Q in the last 3 James Bond movies. He's been so consistently great in film and television projects, and he's the only man getting some awards buzz for Women Talking. I think it comes down to how well Women Talking does on Oscar nominations morning in terms of, is it going to get into picture, director? If the movie is really well received by Academy voters, I think it might go beyond just like a Jessie Buckley or Claire Foy in supporting actress. I think Ben Whishaw, if there's enough wiggle room in supporting actor, I think he might take that 5th slot. I think, like Gleason, like Kwan, he's another actor that we all really love who hasn't really gotten much Oscar attention. This could be his year. I think Women Talking, from the reviews I've read, is going to do well, and I think he might show up here too. One of the big head scratchers for me is The Fabelmans. What's going to happen with The Fabelmans in the acting categories? As we'll talk about coming up here with Best Actress, I think Michelle Williams is pretty much guaranteed a slot in that category. But from everything I've read, there are 3 people in The Fabelmans who could show up in supporting actor. There's Judd Hirsch, who I don't think is in a lot of the movie, but I guess has like one really fantastic scene. There's Paul Dano as the dad. Now that gets confusing too, because it's like, well, if Michelle Williams is lead actress as the mom, why would Paul Dano be supporting actor as the dad? But whatever. And then there's Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen and Paul Dano have never been Oscar nominated. This could be the movie that gets them in, but we're not going to see all 3 of these guys from the same movie nominated in supporting actor. I think it'll just be one. And my thinking is if The Fabelmans gets into this category, it'll be Judd Hirsch. I'm just hearing that his few minutes in the movie are sensational, and Judd Hirsch has been Oscar nominated before for Ordinary People more than 40 years ago. So that would be kind of cool. A nomination in supporting actor in the early 1980s, and then a second Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor in the early 2020s. I mean, that would be pretty remarkable. And he's in his late 80s. This might be the last chance the Academy could reward him with a nomination. And I just think that might be the one voters go for. Not Dano, not Rogen. And now we get into a few more contenders that I'm not so sure about. It's going to depend on how well the movie does with critics, with viewers, and if there's some staying power between now and, say, February. The first one I've seen on a couple predictions websites is Eddie Redmayne for The Good Nurse. I feel like that one could happen because Redmayne has done very well with the Oscars before. He won Best Actor, of course, in 2015 for his performance in The Theory of Everything. He was nominated a year later for The Danish Girl. They really like him, and The Good Nurse looks to be one of those end-of-the-year dramas that'll have good, not great reviews. People like it, but it's not like one of the top 5 or 10 movies of the year, but it manages to slip into one category on Oscar nominations morning, like a supporting actor or a screenplay or something. Like, there's enough love for it that it gets into 1 or 2 categories. So I could see Eddie Redmayne getting in possibly, but I don't know. Is he going to take away a slot from an actor who's never been nominated before, or someone who might be a little bit more overdue? Like, do we really need to reward Eddie Redmayne right now for a movie, from what I've seen, from what I've heard, isn't great? I'm not hearing a lot of huge acclaim for The Good Nurse. So we'll have to wait and see over the next few weeks if anything happens with that. Armageddon Time. Is this going to happen? Like, is this going to get into the Oscars? I feel like after it premiered at Telluride, I didn't read a whole lot of great notices about it, but I keep seeing it on prediction websites, and the names being mentioned for supporting actor are Jeremy Strong and Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins is one of those actors who could make it. Like, if enough voters see it and like it, maybe they don't love the movie, but they really admire Anthony Hopkins' performance. Like, he's an actor who often gets in for movies that aren't adored. I'm thinking Amistad from 1997. That movie underwhelmed, but he still made it into supporting actor for his performance in that film. And he just won Best Actor last year for his amazing performance in The Father. There might be some people who want to nominate him again. It might be like a Judi Dench Belfast situation where Anthony Hopkins doesn't show up a lot in precursor award ceremonies, but then gets the Oscar nomination. That could happen with Hopkins. We will see. Is Bones and All going to get any Oscar nominations? I've heard so many great things about this movie. I can't wait to see it. And I'm reading that Mark Rylance is really terrific in it. He's, of course, an Oscar winner for Best Supporting Actor for Bridge of Spies, so they like him too. If Bones and All could get into one acting category, maybe it could be Rylance in Supporting Actor. Woody Harrelson, Triangle of Sadness. I've heard a lot of great things about this film, and I'm hearing that Dolly De Leon has a pretty good chance of getting into Supporting Actress. Woody Harrelson has 3 Oscar nominations behind him, so if there's enough people really loving this movie in the months to come, maybe Harrelson could get in too. He's a pretty established name, and the Academy loves him, and he still has never won yet. Talk about overdue. I think Harrelson has been fantastic for decades, and I love all 3 of his nominations, so maybe that could happen. It's definitely a possibility. Stanley Tucci, I Want to Dance with Somebody. Is this movie just going to be a general crowd pleaser and not really be an Oscar player? Or could it get in? Based on the trailer, I don't get a sense that it's going to be an Oscar contender outside of maybe like music or something. I don't know. I'm not really feeling it based on the few minutes we've seen in the trailer. But Stanley Tucci is another beloved figure. He got his one and only Oscar nomination for The Lovely Bones. If the movie is really solid and there is some wiggle room in this category, Tucci could take that 5th slot. He could be a dark horse contender if enough people really love that movie the way a lot of voters really loved Bohemian Rhapsody 4 years ago. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's possible. Don Cheadle, White Noise. I've read a little bit about White Noise since its premiere at Venice. I haven't heard much about the Cheadle performance, but his name did pop up on a few websites I looked at for predictions right now. And he is an amazing actor. He is an Oscar nominee. I love his performance in Hotel Rwanda from 2004 that got him into the Oscars. And I've always felt that Cheadle's moment is coming. He just needs to get the right role. I think Don Cheadle, in the next 10 to 15 years, will win an Oscar for something. I think that's coming. I don't think it would be for White Noise, but it could be like a Jackie Brown situation where people are thinking that Greta Gerwig and Adam Driver might get Oscar nominated, and then all of a sudden they're out and Don Cheadle gets in for supporting actor. I mean, that could happen. I haven't seen the movie yet. I've heard good, not great things about it, so I don't know if that's going to happen, but I would love for Don Cheadle to be nominated again. Empire of Light. This movie has been very strange in that I saw a lot of positive notices when it premiered at Telluride, and then it went to Toronto. Like, there were some people, I think, who were underwhelmed by it, but I also saw a lot of raves, and then I haven't really heard about the movie since. Like, the last 4 or 5 weeks, it's been very quiet, so I'm like, is this movie happening? Is this going to be a big Oscar contender? Is there room for both Empire of Light and The Fabelmans, 2 movies that kind of celebrate cinema? His last movie, 1917, did very well. I feel like this movie is sitting kind of quiet right now but once it gets released, once it gets a lot of mainstream reviews and a lot of people see it, I think that one's going to be a player. I think Olivia Colman has a shot, and I think Michael Ward, who is one of the major characters in the film from what I've read, has a shot in supporting actor, along with Toby Jones too, who's great and who's never been Oscar nominated. So one of those two could get in if enough people really love Empire of Light. I'm leaning towards Michael Ward. I don't know, I just have a feeling about that movie. I think Academy members are going to love Empire of Light, just based on everything I've read about it, and from that trailer that came out a few weeks ago. I think Academy members will go for this one. And I think it might do better on Oscar nominations morning than we're all predicting right now. And I think like a Michael Ward could get in for supporting actor. So those are the main contenders right now. Things will be changing in the weeks to come. I might revisit this category in a couple months from now to see just where everything stands. Now, it's very early. It's only the beginning of November. But as of this recording, my predictions for Best Supporting Actor are as follows. Brendan Gleeson, The Banshees of Inisherin, Judd Hirsch, The Fabelmans, Ke Huy Quan, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Michael Ward, Empire of Light, and Ben Whishaw, Women Talking. Those are my 5 predicted nominees as of this moment. It might change in the weeks to come. Of those movies, I still have only seen Everything Everywhere All at Once. I haven't seen the other 4. So take everything I say with a grain of salt, but I'm feeling pretty good about that list. I feel like at least 4 of those 5 might get in. Join me in my next Oscar predictions video where we talk about a big one, my favorite category of them all, Best Actress. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments below, who do you predict will be nominated for Best Supporting Actor at next year's ceremony? Is there anyone you think I left off the list? See you next time.